Hello noble people, my name is the Noble, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing some of your guys' own theories that you have submitted on the YouTube post I have made. I got a lot of theories, so I might do a sequel to this video if this video does well, like the hot takes. And also regarding the hot takes video, I'm going to postpone any new stuff with the hot takes videos. I do know a lot of people in the replies of the first post I made about the hot takes, and also people in the comments of those two hot takes videos want to see more, and I am happy you guys want to see more. However, it was like back-to-back videos where I'm pretty much just kind of crap talking back and forth, and if you've seen how the end of the last one ended, I don't really want to do any more hot takes, at least for a little bit. But if you guys really do want to see one, I probably will make a completely new post. That way I can get some fresh hot takes, and hopefully ones that aren't really weird like the last hot takes. But these theories that I have picked out are really interesting, and I'm probably gonna like this video more since I love theories a lot. I mean, my channel is going to have a bunch of Deltarune theories, and considering we are on a new age of theorizing for Deltarune before Chapter 5 releases, which is only in about a year, we're going to have so much to go over in such a little amount of time, so I'm really looking forward to all of these theories. Without further ado, let's hop into it. Carol isn't the person calling Kris on the phone, since the phone call at the end of Chapter 4 is replaced by a call from her on the weird route, where she's in regular dial ball blocks, and as she's using a voice changer only when talking to Kris about their plan. It isn't her. I think it's the Knight instead, and Karen and Asgore are working together to find Des. In doing this, Asgore found her as the Knight in the Dark World, didn't recognize her, attacked her, and this is how he got the Black Shard. Or I could just be wrong and Jocking Instant is the Knight or something. As a little bonus theory, Des isn't the Knight itself. She's trapped inside the Knight, corrupted throughout some darkness related stuff. Her personality and the Knights are the same, but their motivations are not. If we rematch the Knight, we'll spare them by getting Des to regain control of her body. With that last part you said, with the Des isn't the Knight itself, I do agree with you on that aspect. When the Knight does the roar at Chapter 3 when you get ready to fight it, the way it looks is looks like a deer's skull. It rips itself open. That's not something that someone who's alive can do. And there's also flavor text that Susie has where she says she doesn't know anyone that messed up in the light world, meaning that the person of whoever is the Knight in the light world looks physically deformed in some way. So I do agree with you with that. I don't know about the personality change. If we're going by the fact that Des is the person in the code, then Des probably just doesn't know what's going on, period. Not necessarily that we can break through, because we have acts. You can spam click Rousey's talking act when you fight the Knight, and it doesn't do anything. So I don't actually know if there would be any way to actually get through to the Knight to spare them. I think it's going to be a case of we actually will have to defeat them and then be able to spare or save Des in that way. With the case of the Carol isn't the person on the phone, this is actually a very big talking point right now. A lot of people use what you said for the weird route to prove that it is Carol, because why else would Kris have Carol's number in their phone? But also Kris deletes the contact information and seems to dial them manually, so that doesn't really make too much sense. One thing I will say to actually add on to your theory is we don't see the phone call in the weird route, period. In the normal route, Kris calls whoever it is to say, oh, Susie got the guitar. But in that case, with the weird route, we don't get that at all, period. Susie still goes and picks up the guitar, but Carol just shows up randomly. Maybe Kris would have called her off screen, but it seems like as soon as the Noelle stuff went down in Chapter 4, Kris instantly ripped us the soul out and then threw us in that trash can. We had that scene play out. So to go along with your theory, I do feel like it is someone different. I think it actually adds a lot to Asgore and Carol's character that they're working separate, and that the case of the Knight and Kris could be something else. So we would have 3 big parties. That's really interesting to me. We have the normal Rousey, Susie, Noelle, Kris kind of, or us party where we're trying to stop the Knight and whatnot. Then we have the like night party with a Kris, Solus, and the Des Knight character, and then we have Asgore and Carol trying their own thing. So I actually really do like that, and with the case of Asgore actually fighting, I obviously like that. I have my own theory about that in my Asylum of Flowers feelie. So I'm really happy, and I really like your theory. You know what the time to throw my theory into the ring? We have to seal each dark fountain for the prophecy to have a good ending. That would mean all the Darkners would have to sacrifice themselves for the world to survive. That all means all the friends we made along the way would simply be gone at the end. I don't think Susie would take that well, and by the time that would happen, Rouse would want to selfishly live. I don't think I could complete the game if that happens. It would be a painful ending, one that would be more violent than the Snowgrave route, but the themes of fiction still seem to play a major part of the story. In the end, we may have to put down our keyboards and controllers because not everything lasts. Our time in Deltarune and with its characters, particularly with the Darkners, is limited. We'll possibly end up with a bittersweet ending. Honestly, I don't know how it can be avoided easily. Also, I already put this somewhere, but I wanted else to add. If Darkners don't die from all the dark fountains being sealed, it would still affect Susie and Rouse to a great degree. It really wouldn't get a truly happy ending. Now, I don't know if I personally am just dumb. I never really thought this would be a case, so seeing this comment, it kind of threw me for a loop, because now I'm a little scared if this would actually happen. I was always under the assumption that we would always have the Grand Fountain or the fountain in Castletown, but if it is a case that all dark fountains need to be sealed for the prophecy to end, then it actually might be a case where all of our Darkner friends, Lancer, Rouse, all of them have to go away. And you're completely right about the fact that I would have to put down the keyboard because I would probably not be able to do it. And with the themes of Deltarune playing out, it makes 100% sense that the story and ending is going to be different. It's been a big theme that we're going to only have one ending ? And from the story or narratively, we don't really have too many choices that could alter the actual outcome of the ending, unlike Undertale. The weird route is the exception of that, but it seems like the weird route is going to be a very specific exception, because while we're still following the prophecy, we're like twisting it in our own way. With the case of like in a meta perspective of the actual prophecy, it might be the case, I know a lot of people think a time loop theory might happen at the end, where the themes of don't forget happen, and Susie doesn't want the stuff to end, so she just resets everything back to chapter 1. That would be a really interesting ending. And also, I will say, Toby also has stated that multiple times he's gotten this from like a fever dream. He has gotten the ending for Deltarune and has had it in his head forever. He did specifically say he doesn't know if it would make for a good ending of a game. He just really likes the idea. So maybe the ending is going to be a more bittersweet. Maybe like the quote-unquote good ending that we kind of save people will be the weird route, but the way we get to the weird route sucks. That would be a really twist of your expectations, and I really like that. And your theory is really cool. I never even thought about that once. Kris is stuck between a series of bad options. They don't probably like working for Carol or the Knight, and really don't seem to like working with us. The only time they seem happy is when they're hanging out with Susie. I also think that they haven't tried to communicate whatever plans they might have / are stuck following to us, because those plans might be something that we don't want to be involved in. I 100% agree, to the point where I think this theory is probably 99% likely going to happen. I don't know why some people still are like back into like the chapter 1 theory days where, oh no, Kris is evil, Kris is Kara. Like, what? Are we like in grade school? Do you not read the game? It's very obvious that they are stuck. Literally only the biggest point is the ending cutscene where the person on the phone says, remember Kris, you promised. They promised, and this promise has to be something so big that they physically couldn't break it. One of the biggest things that is interesting to me in Deltarune is the fact that Kris still puts the soul back in, puts us still back in when the Snowgrave and Weird Route happen. They obviously are mad with the scene with them kicking us in the trash can, but they don't like not bother like just leaving us in there. They could have left us in there, and they don't. So there has to be something bigger picture where they have to risk what is going on with the weird route, even though they don't want it to happen. They tried to remedy what we did in chapter 2, and it still ended up backfiring, and they still have to push on. And it's really interesting to whatever like option or like promise Kris is locked into, what that is going to lead to down the line in future chapters. The voice in the code is stuck between the light and the dark worlds. They say they cannot hear or see anything where they are, which does not line up to with the dark world. The dark worlds are when it gets so dark, you can start to see and hear things again. So it makes sense that they're in a place without light or dark, stuck on the boundary. I really like this. If we do find out that the person in the code is Des or something, it's really interesting to find a character that kind of is in between. The dark worlds are so interesting to me from a narrative and also gameplay and meta standpoint, which is why one of my theories, the Dark Worlds Connected theory, I really like so much. And the idea that there's an in-between state makes sense, because dark world is if it's darker than dark, and a light world if it's light. So to have kind of like a middle ground where it's more of a gray, that's really interesting, and I like that kind of idea. There isn't enough evidence to like fully back it up to say like this is confirmed, but the idea that the person trapped in the code is in pitch blackness but yet is not like seeing a dark world or anything, I really like that. A bit out there, but keep in mind this is on the pretense the Snowgrave route could end in chapter 5 entirely, hence that one image of the numbers being different sizes, indicating rear route content. Chapter 5 will be in the flower shop during the festival. Everyone around town hall is celebrating. We'll be with Noelle and Susie. We'll notice the dark world, and the three of us will investigate. In Snowgrave, it's just us and Noelle, and rather than investigate, Noelle says we've become stronger in there, so she looks into the store. In Snowgrave, Birdly will be back because Susie got him to come in to stop us. Now, I really do love the first half of this. I'm on the personal idea that the weird route is going to be obviously the bad ending, and that if it ends in chapter 5, that would make sense. The thing that they are talking about is the Spamton Sweepstakes image. When we got the new update of the Spamton Sweepstakes, we got all of the chapters laid out 1 through 5, and we could click on them and get different stuff. Now, chapter 1 and 3 were darkened out because they don't have any weird out content. Chapter 3 was as big as the highlighted chapter 2, but only because we still got Snowgrave and Weird Route adjacent stuff by the S tier mini game for the Shadow Mantle that was telling us how to get the Weird Route from chapter 2 and whatnot. Chapter 4 was smaller than chapter 2, and then chapter 5 was in between chapter 2 and chapter 4. So the case of it is, we probably will get a lot more than we got in chapter 4, and actually get some gameplay stuff in the Dark Worlds, because in chapter 4 we don't really do much Dark World stuff with the Weird Route. However, you did kind of lose me with the fact that Susie will bring in Birdly. That's get more of like the headcanon-y instead of an actual theory. I do feel like there is going to be a confrontation. One of the biggest headcanons a lot of people have, me included, is the fact that Susie will probably get a rendition of Megalovania at some point, and it makes most sense that the Weird Route comes to a head and we fight Susie and Megalovania starts playing or whatever. However, I don't necessarily know what will happen with the Weird Route in chapter 5. It also seems like Birdly is going to be out of commission for a little while, so I do think your theory is solid with the pretense chapter 5 will end entirely with the Weird Route, and that's just the end of the Weird Route. However, I don't know about like Susie and Birdly teaming up to quote-unquote stop us, because I don't think really Susie has an idea of that, what's going on with the Weird Route. She just knows that Noelle and Kris were talking about something. And that is going to be it for this video. I hope you all liked this. I had a lot of fun. There was a bunch of other theories. A lot of them were really long. I tried to do the ones that were kind of in the middle, where there had some decent substance but weren't insanely long. Some of the theories you guys were posting were like theories that I would have to talk about for like like 20 minutes to fully cover everything. So if I do a part 2 with this, which I probably will if this one does well enough, I'm probably still going to try and choose a little bit of shorter theories. I still do want to do a couple of the big ones if they're relatively easy in size. If it's like a theory about the entire plot of like chapter 5, 6, and 7, I probably won't review that theory, but I did have a lot of fun with these theories. So stay noble. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.